Kirtan composer Purandaradasa. Hare Krishna. Satya Jagagidu Panjabedava Nitya Sri Govindana Krityavaridutaradam Yadi Krishna Nadi Gandusarirai Satya Jagagidu Panjabedava Nitya Sri Govindana Krityavaridutaradam Yadi Krishna Nadi Gandusarirai जीवैषगे भेद सर्वत्र जीव जीवगे भेदवु जीव जडगे जड जडगे भेद जीव जड परमात्मके सत्य जगगिदु पंच भेदव नित्य श्री गोविंदना कृत्यवरिदुतारदं यदि कृष्ण नदी गंधुसारिरै मानुषोत्मरगदिग क्षितिबरु मनुजदेव गंधर्वरु गंधर्वरु ज्ञानी पित्र ज्ञानज जनज कर्मज धनवरी तत्वत्मरु गणपति मित्रनु सप्त ऋषिगलु वाणी नारद वरुणनु इन जगे समचंद्र सूर्यरु मनु सत्योगचुब प्रवाहनु दक्ष सम अनुरुद्ध साक्षि गुरु रदि स्वयंभू वरवरु कक्ष प्रणानिगिंद कामनु किंचितदागनु इंद्रनु देव इंद्र के अधिक मरुद्रदेव सम शेष गरुडगे देवी कच्चु सरस्वती वायुवेग समरिल्ल जगदलु वायुदेवरु ब्रह्मरु वायु ब्रह्मगे कोटि गुणदिंददिग महिमलु श्रीराम आनंद गुणकलिंददिग लघुमिगे आदि पुरंदर विठलनु गणरु समरु इल्ल जगदलु गणु महिरतु पद्मवसगे Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Danvat pranams. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for that kirtan.
Translation, no need.
You can say the translation, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Translation. Translation. This Satya Jagagidu is a famous Kannada Devarnama composed by Purandaradasa that explains Taradamaya, hierarchy of souls, philosophy of Madhava philosophy. It highlights the five eternal differences, Panchabeda, and declares Lord Vishnu, Krishna, as the supreme ultimate, superior to all, and instruct to understand the hierarchy of deities. Panchabeda, five differences. The song emphasizes that the universe is fundamentally governed by five eternal differences between Jiva, that is soul, and Ishvara, God, between one Jiva and another Jiva, between Jiva and Jada, that is matter, between one Jada and another Jada, between Jada and Paramatma, Supreme. It explains hierarchy of Devadas, gods, starting from humans, moving up to Gandharvas, Pitrus, Rishis, Indras, Rudra, Sesha, Garuda, Brahma, and finally Lakshmi, culminating in the supremacy of Vishnu. Supreme Lord. The final verses emphasize that Lord Vishnu is the ultimate supreme, with Lakshmi being superior to others but still subordinate to the supreme. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Danvat Pranams. Thank you so much, Mutmanikam Prabhuji, for singing this wonderful kirtan for us and along with translation explaining it to us. So, Hare Krishna. Okay, we'll begin our class. Who would like to sing Mangalacharan? Anyone would like to sing Mangalacharan? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji Dhanvat Pranam.
Danvat
Mother,
Pranams.
I want to give a try, but there may be some disturbances from my
No
side.
problem, Mataji.
Mataji
Krishna
should
will help us. So, Hari Bol. Go ahead, Mataji.
sing.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगणरघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपाद सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी प्रशुभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुरेव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंदा श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्णा माता जी धन्यवाद।
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Pushpa Mataji, for singing Mangalacharan. Very nice try, Mataji. Hari Bol. Very nice. So let's begin our class. Thank you everyone for joining in. So we'll first start with the Bhagavad Gita shloka for the day. So which shloka number did we see yesterday? Hari Krishna, anyone remembers? What's the shloka we saw yesterday?
9 number.
Chapter 9, shloka 9, right? Chapter 1, shloka 9 is what we saw. And what is the shloka 9 all about? Anyone remembers the shloka? The shloka or its meaning? Anyone?
Duryodhana telling to the Guru Dronacharya that there are many yodhas in my army like Jayadrat, Kratparma, those who are ready to give up their life for me.
Haribol. So nice. Yeah. So the conversation between Duryodhana and Dronacharya is still continuing. In Shloka 9, so in the previous Shloka, he's talking about who are the captains of his military force. Then in the next Shloka 9, he's saying there are so many people there who are ready to sacrifice their lives for me, and they all are equipped with different kinds of weapons. All of them are, has always been victorious in battle. They're so experienced, and they also give their lives for me. So like that, like Pushpa Manji rightly said, like Jaitrada, Kritavarma, Salya, right? So indirectly, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is, in other words, it's already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of sinful Duryodhana. That has come from the mouth of Duryodhana itself, is what he is trying to say. And it also shows that Duryodhana was very confident of his victory, right? Because of all these people who are ready to lay their lives for him. So that is what we saw in Shloka 9. Shloka 9. Anyone has memorized the Shloka? Anyone would like to say the Shloka? Hare Krishna. Did anyone of you try memorizing the shloka? Or you can even see and read also. Anyone would like to attempt? Hare Krishna.
सूरपितः नानु नान शास्त्र प्रहराणः सर्वे युद्ध विशरादः.
Jaradaha. Haribol. Thank you so much, Muthumanikam Prabhuji. Very nice. So today we will see Shloka 10. Okay. Aparyaptam tat asmakam balam bhishmabhirakshitam paryaptam tvidam etesham balam bhimabhirakshitam. So here there are two things. One is Bhishma Birakshitam, Bhima Birakshitam, right? So indirectly it shows he's saying something about Bhishma and Bhima. So we'll see what he's saying. So our strength is immeasurable and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Bhishma. Whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Bhima, is limited. Right? So that's what Duryodhana is saying in this shloka. Let's look at the purport. Purport by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained, right? So that's what he's trying to justify. The root cause is the fear he has on Bhima, right? That's kind of becoming evident here because he has the fear that if at all someone would kill him, it could only be Bhima. But he's trying to justify it because Pitama Bhishma is there on his side, right? So their side is very strong, is what he's trying to say through this shloka. It's a simple shloka, clearly self-explanatory. So please go through this and come
Mataji,
for
at
the
this
class tomorrow.
juncture, I want to tell something.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yes, Mataji, these people, Bhima and Duryodhana, some other people, they are Astavadani, some character mentioned in the Mahabharata. Because if a person die, the another person may be killed like that. The story comes into picture because the people knows there was another person was there and the motive only he that person will be killed by that the easily narrates.
Okay.
Yeah, because this one king died because during their Vanavas, the person was killed. So that the Duryodhana understanding was that Bhima was there, so that he was killed by Bhima, like that.
Okay.
Hmm.
Okay. Very interesting information, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing. So, we've completed 10 shlokas so far, chapter 1. So, please go through all these 10 shlokas and come for the class on Sunday. Saturdays, we'll anyways not have a class because we have a weekly satsangs. So, Sunday, please make sure all the 10 shlokas, please memorize and with the meaning, you try to understand and come for the class. Okay. So with this, we will move to our book reading. We'll start our book reading. So we are in the Science of Self-Realization book, right? So let me share my screen again. Yeah, so we're in the book The Science of Self-Realization, chapter 1. What's the name of chapter 1? Anyone remembers? Hare Krishna? Hare Krishna.
Learning
What's
the science of soul.
learning the science of the soul? Hari bol, Pushpa Mataji. Then in chapter 1, learning the science of the soul. Totally, how many chapters in this book? Anyone
Eight.
knows?
8 chapters.
8 chapters, Hari bol. So today we will complete our first chapter, and we will eventually complete the rest of it as well. So the first chapter is
Mataji, 3 subtopics are there. Another.
sorry, Prabhuji, come again.
First chapter we can't finish today because another 3 subdivisions are there.
We will try, Prabhuji. We will see. I think we should be able to. We will see.
Hmm.
Try our best. Okay, very nice. So mostly we will finish this and then we will see. But this is the foundation chapter, so it's important for all of us to understand. It's the signs of the soul, right? So this has been a very interesting chapter so far. So yesterday, what was the topic we were seeing in this chapter? Anyone remembers? Which heading we were reading about?
Reincarnation and beyond. Reincarnation and beyond. The dialogue between Mike Robinson and the Srila Prabhupada discussed regarding the reincarnation of beyond.
Hare Krishna, I think, yeah, my network went. Am I audible now? Hare Krishna?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, so I was asking who was the person with whom Srila Prabhupada was conversing in that reincarnation and beyond. What's the name of the person?
Mike Robinson.
Mike Robinson, Hari Bol. Yes, you all did role play also, no? Very nice. So, what was the conversation happening between Mike Robinson and Srila Prabhupada? Anyone would like to summarize quickly?
Mataji, may I summarize?
Go ahead, Prabhuji.
Because simple thing, the logic of the, because what Mike Robinson thought was belief, and the belief is not the correct thing, and uh, God is science, like that, the soul and God is science. That way Prabhupada explained, and the difference between the soul and the body also explained by Srila Prabhupada to Mike Robinson. And what is the dead body, what is the live body, that also clearly explained. And between this Hare Krishna movement, how it reflects and how it gives the learning, how it talks the correct things from the scriptures, and scriptures how it comes from the Vedic literatures. That also explained by Srila Prabhupada. These are the main highlighted points explained to Mike Robinson.
Haribol Prabhuji, thank you so much for summarizing it. Any other points anyone else would like to add? Hare Krishna. What else did we see yesterday? Hare Krishna. Any other points which comes to your mind? What were the other questions Mike Robinson were asking Srila Prabhupada? Yeah, there's so much of silence. So, okay, let me show this. So, like Madhumanikam Prabhuji clearly said, the Vedic scriptures part was clearly discussed, and uh, Mike Robinson was very curious to understand what's been the philosophy of the Hare Krishna conscious movement. What are we trying to preach? Are you saying there's another? This is not the only life. Is it just the physical body that dies? What is the proof that there is a soul? And also some interesting questions like, uh, animals, does it have a soul? He's been trying to defend that concept. Srila Prabhupada is trying to explain that. Then what is the logic that whether humans have a soul? How will you prove that? So there are some very, very interesting and basic questions. And is there only one God who's controlling us? How do you say that is Krishna? What is the difference between your philosophy and what the Christianity preaches? So there's a lot of interesting questions and conversations which happened about our literatures, about our Vedic scriptures, the essence behind that, what is Krishna consciousness all about that, and the life after death. So everything holistically gets covered. In fact, the chanting of Hare Krishna, everything he asked about, and Srila Prabhupada has explained it with beautiful quotes and simple examples which anyone could understand. So that was the beauty of this entire conversation. So we finished this yesterday. We will continue from the rest of it today. We'll have to start the next topic, truth and beauty, today. So we will start with that. Okay. So, yeah. Pushpa Mataji, would you like to start first? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Truth and beauty. Beauty is truth, or truth beauty, said Keats. That is all ye know on earth, and all ye need to know, or is it? In this charming yet cutting essay, which first appeared in the old tabloid version of Back to Godhead November 20, 1958, Srila Prabhupada tells the unforgettable story of liquid beauty. There may be sometimes argument about whether truth and beauty are compatible terms. One would willingly agree to express the truth, one might say, but since truth is not always beautiful, indeed, it is frequently rather startling and unpleasant. How is one how is one to express truth and beauty at the same time? Reply. We may In reply, we may inform all concerned that truth and beauty are compatible terms. Indeed, we may emphatically assert that the actual truth, which is absolute, is always beautiful. Truth is so beautiful that attracts everyone, including the truth itself. Truth is so beautiful that many sages, saints, and devotees have left everything for the sake of truth. Mahatma Gandhi, an idol of the modern world, dedicated his life to experimenting with truth, and all his activities were aimed towards truth only. Why only Mahatma Gandhi? Every one of us has the urge to search for truth alone. For the truth, it is not only beautiful but also all powerful, all resourceful, all famous, all renounced, and all knowledgeable. Unfortunately, people have no information of the actual truth. Indeed, 99.9% of men in all walks of life are pursuing untruth only in the name of truth. We are actually attracted by the beauty of truth, but since time immortal, we have been habituated to love of untruth appearing like truth. Therefore, to the mundane truth and beauty are incompatible terms. The mundane truth and beauty may be explained as follows.
Hare
Once a
Krishna.
man, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dhanvat pranams. Thank you so much. Muttamanikam Prabhuji, would you like to continue next? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Once a man who was very powerful and strongly built, but those character was very doubtful, fell in love with a beautiful girl. The girl was not only beautiful in appearance, but also saintly in character, and as such, she did not like the man's advances. The man, however, was insistent because of his lustful desires, and therefore the girl requested him to wait only 7 days. And she set the time after that when he could meet her. The man agreed, and with the appointment time. The saintly girl, beauty of the absolute truth, adopted a method very instructive. She took very strong doses of laxatives and purgatives, purgatives, and for 7 days she continually passed loose stool and vomited all that she ate. However, she stored all the loose stool and vomit in suitable pots. As a result of the purgatives, the so-called beautiful girl becomes lean and thin like a skeleton. Her complexion turned blackish, and her beautiful eyes sank into the sockets of her skull. Thus, at the appointed hour, she waited anxiously to receive the eager man. The man appeared on the scene well dressed and well behaved, and asked the ugly girl he found waiting there about the beautiful girl he was to meet. The man couldn't recognize the girl he saw as the same beautiful girl for whom he was asking. Indeed, although she repeatedly uh, asserted her identity because of her
Prabhuji, your voice
condition, he was unable to recognize her.
just for me or for
At
everyone?
last, the girl separated from the ingredients.
Mataji.
She also, those,
Hare
the mundane poetic man, he was directed to the store of a loose stool and liquid vomit, which were emanating an unbearably bad smell. Thus, the whole story of the beauty liquid was disclosed to him. Finally, by the grace of saintly girl, this man of low character was able to distinguish between the shadow and the substance, and thus he came to his senses that
Krishna,
this
Prabhuji.
man's position
Hare
was
Krishna. Danvat pranams, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Padma Mataji, would you like to continue next? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Am I audible?
Yes, Mataji, you're audible.
Thank you so much, Mataji. This man's position was similar to the position of every one of us who is attracted by false material beauty. The girl mentioned above had a beautifully developed material body in accordance with the desires of her mind, but in fact, she was apart from that material body and mind. She was, in fact, a spiritual spark, and so also was a lover who was attracted by her false skin. Mundane intellectuals and ascetics, however, are deluded by the outward beauty and attraction of the relative truth and are unaware of the spiritual spark, which is both truth and beauty at the same time. The spiritual spark is so beautiful that when it leaves a so called beautiful body, which in fact is full of stool and vomit, no one wants to touch that body, even if it is decorated with a costly costume. We are all pursuing a false relative truth which is incompatible with real beauty. The actual truth, however, is permanently beautiful, retaining the same standard of beauty for innumerable years. That spiritual spark is indestructible. The beauty of the outer skin can be destroyed in only a few hours merely by a dose of a strong purgative. But the beauty of truth is indestructible and always the same. Unfortunately, mundane artists and intellectuals are ignorant of this beautiful spark of spirit. They are also ignorant of the whole fire, which is the source of these spiritual sparks, and they are ignorant of the relationships between the sparks and the fire, which take the form of transcendental pastimes. When those pastimes are displayed here by the grace of the Almighty, foolish people who cannot see beyond their senses confuse those pastimes of truth and beauty with the manifestations of loose stool and vomit described above. Thus, in despair, they ask how truth and beauty can be accommodated at the same time. Mundaners do not know that the whole spiritual entity is a beautiful person who attracts everything. They are unaware that he is the prime substance, the prime source, the fountainhead of everything that can be. Infinitesimal spiritual sparks, being parts and parcels of that whole spirit, are qualitatively the same in beauty and eternity. The only difference is that the whole is eternally the whole, and parts are eternally the parts. Both of them, however, are the ultimate truth, ultimate beauty, ultimate knowledge, ultimate energy, ultimate renunciation, and ultimate opulence. Although written by the greatest mundane poet or intellectual, any literature that does not describe the ultimate truth and beauty is but a store of loose stool and vomit of the relative truth. Real literature is that which describes the ultimate truth and beauty of the absolute. Thank
Very
you.
good, Mataji. Thank you
Krishna.
so much. Hare Krishna. Krishnadas Prabhuji, would you like to read next? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Relevant inquiries from their book. Again in the old tabloid Back to Godhead, this time dated April 20, 1960, Srila Prabhupada talks about the science of the soul. Since a human being is a rational animal, he is born to make inquiries and questions. The greater the number of questions, the greater the advancement of knowledge and science. The most intelligent man, however, inquires about what happens after death. Small child walking with his father goes on inquiring constantly. He asks his father so many odd things, and the father has to satisfy him with proper answers. When I was a young father in my household life, I was overloaded with hundreds of questions from my second son, who was my constant companion. One day it so happened that a bridegroom's party was passing our tram car, and the 4-year-old boy, as usual, inquired what the big procession was. He was given all possible answers to his thousand questions regarding the marriage party. And finally, he asked whether his own father was married. This question gave rise to loud laughter from all the elderly gentlemen present. Although the boy was perplexed as to why we were laughing. Anyway, the boy was somehow satisfied by his married father. The lesson from this incident is that since a human being is a rational animal, he is born to make inquiries. The greater the number of questions, the greater the advancement of knowledge and science. The whole of material civilization is based on this originally large volume of questions put up by young men to their elders. When elderly person gives the proper answers to the questions of the youngsters, civilization makes progress, one step after another. Most intelligent man, however, inquires about what happens after death. The less intelligent make lesser inquiries, but questions of those who are more intelligent go higher and still higher. Among the most intelligent of men was Maharaja Parikshit, the great king of the entire world, who was accidentally cursed by a Brahmana to meet death from the bite of a serpent within 7 days. The Brahmana who cursed him was only a boy, yet he was very powerful. And because he did not know the importance of the great king, the boy foolishly cursed him to meet death within 7 days. This was later lamented by the boy's father, whom the king had offended. When the king was informed of the unfortunate curse, he at once left his palatial home and went to the bank of the Ganges, which was near his capital, to prepare for his impending death. Because he was a great king, almost all the great sages and learned scholars assembled at the place. The king was fasting prior to leaving his body. At last, Sukadeva Goswami, the contemporary saint, also arrived there, and he was unanimously accepted to preside at the meeting, although his great father was also present. The king especially offered Sukadeva Goswami the principal seat of esteem and asked him relevant questions regarding the king's passing from the mortal world, which was to take place on the 7th day thenceforward. The great king, as a worthy descendant of the Pandavas, who were all great devotees, place the following relevant inquiries before the great sage Sukadeva. My dear sir, you are the greatest of the great transcendentalists, and therefore I submissively beg to ask you about my duties at the. I am just on the verge of my death. Therefore, what should I do at this critical hours? Please tell me, my lord, what should I hear? What should I worship? And what should I do at this critical hour? Please tell me, my lord, what should I hear? What should I worship? Or whom should I remember now? A great sage like you does not stay at the home for a householder more than necessary. And therefore, my good fortune that you have kindly come here at the time of my death. Please, therefore, give me your directions at this critical hour. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, the Lord pronounce.
Pranam, Pranam, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vamshita Prabhuji, would you like to read next? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, but by His Divine Grace, Prabhupada ki jai. The great says, having thus been pleasingly requested by the king, answered his questions authoritatively, for the sage was a great transcendental scholar and was also well equipped with godly qualities, since he was the worthy son of Bharadayana, Bharadarayana, or Vyasadeva, the original compiler of the Vedic literature. Sukadeva Goswami said, "My dear king, your inquiry is very much relevant, and it is also beneficial for all people for all times. Such a inquiry, which are the highest of all, are relevant because they are confirmed by the teachings of the Vedanta Darshana, the conclusion
Vedanta Darshana.
Wait. Hare Krishna Mataji. Vedanta Darshana.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Yeah.
I'm getting noise echo Mataji. From your side. Vedic knowledge and our Atma with some Samataha, in other words, liberated soul who have full knowledge of their spiritual identity, put forward such a relevant inquiries in order to elucidate, elucidate further information about the transcendence. The Srimad Bhagavatam is the natural commentary upon the great Vedanta or Sharirika sutras, which are compiled by Srila Vyasadeva, the Vedanta. Yo, where I am. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. You can continue, Prabhuji, this also.
No. Yes. I forwarded them. Okay. Vedanta literatures, there are, sutras are compiled by Srila Vyasadeva. Vedanta sutras are the topmost Vedic literature. And they contain the nucleus of basic inquiries about the transcendental subject of spiritual knowledge. Although Srila Vyasadeva compared this great testis and mind was not satisfied, then he happened to meet Sri Narada, his spiritual master, who advised him to describe the identity of the personality of Godhead. Upon receiving this advice, Vyasadeva meditated on the principles of Bhakti Yoga, which showed him distinctly what is the absolute and what is the relativity, or Maya. Having achieved perfection realization of this fact, he compiled the great narration of the Srimad Bhagavatam, or beautiful Srimad Bhagavatam, beautiful Bhagavatam, which began with actual historical fact concerning the life of Maharaja Parikshit.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Padma Mataji, would you like to read next? Hare Krishna.
Sure, Mataji. Hare Krishna. The Vedanta Sutra begins with a key inquiry about the transcendence, Atato Brahma Jignasa. One should now inquire about Brahman or the transcendence. As long as a man is in the full vigor of life, he forgets the naked truth of death, which he has to meet. Thus, a foolish man makes no relevant inquiry about the real problems of life. Everyone thinks that he will never die, although he sees evidence of death before his eyes at every second. Here is a distinction between animalism and humanity. An animal like a goat has no sense of its impending death. Although its brother goat is being slaughtered, the goat, being allured by the green grass offered to it, will stand peacefully waiting to be slaughtered next. On the other hand, if a human being sees his fellow being killed by an enemy, he either fights to save his brother or leaves, if possible, to save his own life. That is the difference between a man and a goat. An intelligent man knows that death is born along with his own birth. He knows that he is dying at every second and that the final touch will be given as soon as his term of life is finished. He therefore prepares himself for the next life or for liberation from the disease of repeated birth and death. A foolish man, however, does not know that this human form of life is obtained after a series of births and deaths imposed in the past by the laws of nature. He does not know that a living entity is an eternal being who has no birth and death. Birth, death, old age, and disease are external impositions on a living entity and are due to his contact with material nature and to his forgetfulness of his eternal godly nature and qualitative oneness with the absolute whole. Human life provides the opportunity to know this eternal fact or truth. Thus, the very beginning of the Vedanta Sutra advises that because we have this valuable form of human life, it is our duty now to inquire what is Brahman, the absolute truth. A man who is not intelligent enough does not inquire about this transcendental life. Instead, he inquires about many irrelevant matters which do not concern his eternal existence. From the very beginning of his life, he inquires from his mother, father, teachers, professors, books, and so many other sources, but he does not have the right type of information about his real life. As mentioned before, Parikshit Maharaja was given a warning notice that he would meet death within 7 days, and he at once left his palace to prepare himself for the next stage. The king had at least 7 days at his disposal in which to prepare for death. But as far as we are concerned, although at least we know that our death is sure, we have no information of the date fixed for the occurrence. I do not know whether I am going to meet death at the next moment. Even such a great man as Mahatma Gandhi could not calculate that he was going to meet with death in the next 5 minutes, nor could his great associates guess his impending death. Nonetheless, all such gentlemen present themselves as great leaders of the people. It is ignorance of death and life that distinguishes an animal from a man. A man, in the real sense of the term, inquires about himself and what he is. Wherefrom has he come into this life, and where is he going after death? Why is he put under the troubles of threefold miseries, although he does not want them? Beginning from one's childhood, one goes on inquiring about so many things in life, but he never inquires about the real essence of life. This is animalism. There is no difference between a man and an animal as far as the four principles of animal life are concerned, for every living being exists by eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating. But only the human life is meant for relevant inquiries into the facts about eternal life and the transcendence. Human life is therefore meant for research into eternal life, and the Vedanta Sutra advises one to conduct this research now or never. If one fails to inquire now into these relevant matters about life, one is sure to go back again to the animal kingdom by the laws of nature. Therefore, even if a foolish man appears advanced in material science, that is, in eating, sleeping, fearing, mating, and so on, he cannot get free from the cruel hands of death by the law of nature. The law of nature works under three modes: goodness, passion, and ignorance. Those who live under conditions of goodness are promoted to the higher spiritual status of life, and those who live under conditions of passion remain stationed in the same place in the material world where they are now. But those who live under conditions of ignorance are sure to be degraded to the lower species. Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Thank
Krishna.
you, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Dandavat pranams. Hare Krishna, Pushpa Mataji, would you like to read next?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Um, um,
The modern setup.
From
yes,
here.
yes, Mataji. The modern setup of human civilization is a risky one because it offers no education about relevant inquiries into the essential principle of life. Like animal, people do not know that they are going to be slaughtered by the laws of nature. They are satisfied with a bunch of green grass or so-called jolly life, like the waiting goat in a slaughterhouse. Considering such a condition of human life, we are just trying to make a humble attempt to save the human being by the message of back to Godhead. This method not fictitious. Is it if there is at all to be an era of reality? This message of back to Godhead is the beginning of that era. According to the Sri Sukadeva Goswami, the real fact is that Grahamedi or a person who had tied himself like the goat meant for slaughter in business of family, society, community, nation, or humanity at large in regard to the problem and necessities of human life, animal life, merely eating, sleeping, fearing, and mating, and who had no knowledge of the transcendence in is no better than an animal. He may have inquired about physical, political, economical, cultural, educational, and similar other matters of temporary material concern. But if he has not inquired about the principle of transcendental life, he should be regarded as a blind man driven ahead by uncontrolled senses and about to fall into a ditch. This that is the description of a Grahamedi. The opposite of Grahamedi, however, is the Grahastha. The Grahastha ashrama or the center of spiritual family life is as good as life of a sannyasi, a member of renounced order, regardless of whether one is a householder or a renunciant. The important point is that of the relevant inquiries. A sannyasi is bogus if not interested in relevant inquiries, or a grahast or householder is bona fide if he is inclined to put forward such inquiries. The Grahamedi, however, is simply interested in the animal necessity of life. By the laws of nature, the Grahamedi is life full of calamities, whereas life of Grahastha is full of happiness. But in the modern human civilization, Grahamedis are posing to posing as the Grahastha. We should therefore know who is what. A Grahamedi's life full of vices because he does not know how to live a spiritual family life. He does not know that beyond his control is a power who supervises and controls his activities. He has no conception of his future life. The Grahamedi is blind to his future and has no aptitude for making relevant inquiries. His only qualification is that he is bound by the shackles of attachment to the false thing he had contracted in his temporary existence. At night, such Grahamedis waste their valuable time by sleeping or by satisfying their different varieties of sexual urges by visiting cinemas, shows, and attending clubs and gambling houses, where women and liquor are indulged in lavishly. And during the day, they waste their valuable life in accumulating money for, if they have sufficient money to spend, by adjusting the comforts of their family members. Their standard of living and their personal needs increases with their increase in monetary income. Thus, there is no limit to their expenses and they are never satisfied. Consequently, there is unlimited competition in the field of economic development and therefore there is no peace in any society of the human world. Everyone is perplexed why the same question about earning and spending. But ultimately, one must depend on the mercy of Mother Nature. When there is scarcity of production or there is disturbances caused by the providence, the poor plan making politician blames it on the cruel nature, but carefully avoided studying how and by whom the laws of nature are controlled. The Bhagavad Gita, however, explains that the laws of nature are controlled by the absolute personality of Godhead. God alone is the controller of the nature and the natural laws. Ambitious materialists sometimes examine a fragment of the law of nature, but they never care to know the maker of these laws. Most of them do not believe in the existence of an absolute pers- person or God who control the laws of nature. Further, they simply concern themselves with the principle by which different elements interact, but they make no reference to the ultimate direction which makes such interaction possible. They have no relevant question or answer in this regard. The second of Vedanta Sutra, however, answers the essential question about Brahman by asserting that the Supreme Brahman, the Supreme Transcendent, is He from whom everything is generated. Ultimately, He is the Supreme Person. Hare Krishna Mata Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you so much, Tanvit Pranam. Uttamanikam, would you like to continue? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Not only is the police Grahamedi ignorant of the temporary nature of particular type of body he has obtained, but he is also blind to the actual nature of what is happening before him in the delay affairs of his life. He may see his father die, his mother die, and his relative or neighbor die. Yet he does not make the relevant inquiries about whether or not the other existing members of his family will die. Sometimes he thinks and knows that all the members of his family will die today or tomorrow, and that he also will die. He may know that the whole family soul, or for that matter, the whole soul of community, society, nation, and all such things is but a temporary bubble in the air, having no permanent value. Yet he is mad after such a temporary arrangement, does not concern himself with any relevant inquiries. He has no knowledge as to where he has to go after his death. He works very hard for the temporary arrangement of his family, society, or nation, but he never makes any future arrangements either for himself or for others. He will pass away from this present phase of life. In a public vehicle like a railway carriage, we meet and sit down together with some unknown friends and become members of the same vehicle for a short time. But in due course, we separate, never to meet again. Similarly, in a long sojourn of life, we get temporary sittings of accommodation and in a so-called family, country, or society. But when the time is up, we are unwillingly separated from one another, never to meet again. There are so many questions relevant to our temporary arrangements in life and our friends of these temporary arrangements. But a man who is Grahamedi never inquires about things of a permanent nature. We are all busy making permanent plans in various degrees of leadership without knowing the permanent nature of things, and they are. Sripada Sankaracharya, who especially strove to remove this ignorance in society and who advocated the cult of spiritual knowledge in regard to other all pervading impersonal Brahman, said in despair. Children are engaged in playing, young boys are engaged in so-called love affairs with young girls, and the old are seriously thoughtful about adjusting a life of struggle. But alas, no one is prepared to inquire relevantly into the science of Brahman, the absolute truth. Sri Sukdeva Goswami, who was asked for direction of Maharaja Parikshit, responded to the king's relevant inquiries by advising him as follows. Dasmad Bharata Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavaiha Kirtida Vyas Cha Samartava Vyas Chechada Bayam. Oh, descendant of Bharata, it is the duty of mortal mean to inquire about, hear about, glorify, and meditate upon the personality of God, who is the most attractive person because of his fullness in opulence. He is called Hari because he alone can undo the conditional existence of a living being. If we at all want to be freed from conditional existence, we must make relevant inquiries about the absolute truth so that he may be pleased to bestow upon us perfect freedom in life. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.1.5. Sri Sukadeva Goswami has particularly used four words in regard to the absolute personality of God. These words distinguish the absolute person, O Brahman, for other persons who are qualitatively one with him. The absolute personality of Godhead is addressed in Sarvadma, all pervading, because no one is aloof from him. Although not everyone has this realization, the personality of Godhead by his plenary representation resides in everyone's heart as Paramatma, the super soul, along with each individual soul. Therefore, every individual soul has an intimate relationship with him. Forgetfulness of this eternally existing intimate relationship with him is the cause of conditional life since time immemorial. But because he is Bhagavan or the Supreme Personality, he can at once reciprocate the responsive call of a devotee. Moreover, because he is the perfect person, his beauty, abundance, fame, strength, knowledge, and renunciation are all unlimited source of the transcendental bliss for the individual soul. The individual soul becomes attracted by all these different opulences when they are imperfectly represented by other conditioned souls. But the individual soul is not satisfied by such imperfect representations, and therefore he perpetually seeks the perfect one. The personality of God's beauty has no comparison, nor do his knowledge and renunciation. But above all, he is Ishvara, or the supreme controller. We are at present being controlled by the Polish action of this great king. This Polish control is imposed upon us because of her disobedience of law. But because of the Lord is Hari, he is able to cause the disappearance of our conditional life by giving us full freedom in spiritual existence. It is therefore the duty of every man to make relevant inquiries about him and thus go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hari Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Krishna Das Prabhuji, would you like to continue? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare
Soul
Krishna.
research. Srila Prabhupada writes a letter to noted cardiologist Dr. Wilfred G. Bigelow. The central question you say is, where is the soul and where does it come from? That is not difficult to understand. In 1968, speaking before a gathering of students at Massachusetts Institute of Technology, Srila Prabhupada points out an important lag in technological research. Although we have so many departments of knowledge, he says, there is no department aiming to find the difference between a living body and a dead body. Although advanced in understanding the mechanical working of the physical body, modern science gives but little attention to studying the spiritual spark that animates the body. In the Montreal Gazette article reproduced below, we find world famous cardiologist Wilfred G. Bigelow urging systematic research to determine what the soul is and where it comes from. Reproduced next is Srila Prabhupada's letter in response to Dr. Bigelow's plea. Srila Prabhupada offers substantial Vedic knowledge on the science of the soul and suggests a practical method for scientifically understanding the spiritual spark. Gazette headline: Heart surgeon wants to know what a soul is. Windsor. A world famous Canadian heart surgeon says he believes the body has a soul which departs at death, and theologians ought to try to find out more about it. Dr. Wilfred G. Bigelow, head of the cardiovascular surgery unit at Toronto General Hospital, said that as a person who believes there is a soul, he thought the time had come to take the mystery out of this and find out what it is. Bigelow was a member of a panel which appeared before the Essex County Medical Legal Society to discuss problems associated with attempts to define the exact moment of death. The question has become vital in the age of transplants of hearts and other organs in cases when the donors are inevitably dying. The Canadian Medical Association has produced a widely accepted definition of death as the moment when the patient is in coma, responds to no stimulus of any kind, and brain waves recorded on a machine or flat. The other members of the panel were Mr. Justice Edson L. Haynes of the Ontario Supreme Court and J. Francis Leddy, President of the University of Windsor. Bigelow, elaborating on points he had raised during the discussion, said in an interview later that his 32 years as a surgeon had left him no doubts that there is a soul.
There are certain cases where you happen to be present at the moment when people pass from a living state of death and some mysterious changes take place. One of the most noticeable
Hare
is
Krishna.
the sudden lack of life.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. But Krishna Das Prabhuji, he got disconnected, is it? Okay, I
It is
think he's
difficult
got
to
disconnected.
document what you observe. In fact, I didn't think it can be documented very well. Bigelow, who became world renowned for his pioneering work on the deep freeze surgical technique known as hypothermia, and for his heart valve surgery, said soul research be undertaken by technology and allied disciplines at the university. During this
Hare
discussion,
Krishna
Lady
Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Then
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranams. Vamshidhar Prabhuji, would you like to continue? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, I'm taking Prasadam Mataji.
Oh, okay. No problem, Prabhuji. Padma Mataji, would you like to continue? Hare Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
During this discussion, Lady said that if there is a soul, you are not going to see it. You are not going to find it. If there is a principle of vitality of life, what is it? The problem was that the soul doesn't exist anywhere specifically, geographically. It's everywhere, and yet it's nowhere in the body. It would be nice to start experimenting, but I don't know how you're going to get on any of these things, Letty said. He said the discussion reminded him of the Soviet cosmonaut who returned from space to report there was no God because he didn't see him up there. Maybe so, said Bigelow. But in modern medicine, when something was encountered that could not be explained, the watchword is discover the answer. Take it into the laboratory. Take it somewhere where you can discover the truth. The central question, said Bigelow, was where is the soul and where does it come from? Srila Prabhupada gives the Vedic evidence. My dear Dr. Bigelow, please accept my greetings. Recently, I have read an article in the Gazette by Rai Corelli entitled Heart Surgeon Wants to Know What a Soul Is. And it was very interesting. Your comments show great insight, and so I thought to write to you on this matter. Perhaps you may know that I am the founder Acharya of the International Society of Krishna Consciousness. I have several temples in Canada, Montreal, Toronto, Vancouver, and Hamilton. This Krishna consciousness movement is specifically meant to teach every soul his original spiritual position. Undoubtedly, the soul is present in the heart of the living entity, and it is the source of all the energies for maintaining the body. The energy of the soul is spread all over the body, and this is known as consciousness. Since the consciousness spreads the energy of the soul all over the body, one can feel pain and pleasure in any part of the body. The soul is individual and he is transmigrating from one body to another, just as a person transmigrates from babyhood to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, from boyhood to youth, and then to advanced old age. Then the change called death takes place when we change to a new body, just as we change our old dress to a new dress. This is called transmigration of the soul. When a soul wants to enjoy this material world, forgetting his real home in the spiritual world, he takes this life of hard struggle for existence. This unnatural life of repeated birth, death, disease, and old age can be stopped when his consciousness is dovetailed with the supreme consciousness of God. That is a basic principle of our Krishna movement. As far as heart transplant is concerned, there is no question of success unless the soul is there in the heart. So the presence of the soul has to be accepted. In sexual intercourse, if there is no soul, there is no conception, no pregnancy. Contraception deteriorates the womb so that it no longer is a good place for the soul. That is against the order of God. By the order of God, a soul is sent to a particular womb, but by this contraceptive, he is denied that womb and has to be placed in another. That is disobedience to the Supreme. For example, take a man who is supposed to live in a particular apartment. If the situation there is so disturbed that he cannot enter the apartment, then he is put at a great disadvantage. That is illegal interference and is punishable. The undertaking of soul research would certainly mark the advancement of science, but advancement of science will not be able to find the soul. The soul's presence can simply be accepted on circumstantial understanding. You will find in the Vedic literature that the dimension of the soul is 1/10,000th the size of a point. The material scientists cannot measure the length and breadth of a point. Therefore, it is not possible for the material scientists to capture the soul. You can simply accept the soul's existence by taking a trump authority. The great scientists are finding what the great scientists are finding, we have explained long ago. As soon as one understands the existence of the soul, he can immediately understand the existence of God. The difference between God and the soul is that God is a very great soul and the living entity is a very small soul. But qualitatively, they are equal. Therefore, God is all pervading and the living entity is localized. But the nature and quality are the same. The central question you say is where is the soul and where does it come from? That is not difficult to understand. We have already discussed that the soul is residing in the heart of the living entity and that it takes shelter in another body after death. Originally, the soul comes from God, just as a spark comes from fire. And when the spark falls down, it appears to be extinguished. The spark of soul originally comes from the spiritual world to the material world. In the material world, he falls down into three different conditions, which are called the modes of nature. When a spark of fire falls on dry grass, the fiery quality continues. When the spark falls on the ground, it cannot display its fiery manifestation unless the ground is favorably situated. And when the spark falls on water, it becomes extinguished. As such, we find three kinds of living conditions. One living entity is completely forgetful of his spiritual nature, and another is almost forgetful but still has an instinct of spiritual nature, and another is completely in search of spiritual perfection. There is a bona fide method for attainment of spiritual perfection by the spiritual spark of soul, and if he is properly guided, then he is very easily sent back home, back to Godhead, wherefrom he originally fell. It will be a great contribution to human society if this authorized information from the Vedic literature is presented to the modern world on the basis of modern scientific understanding. The fact is already there. It simply has to be presented for modern understanding. Yours sincerely, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Bol. Thank you so much, Mataji. Very beautifully read. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna. Hari Bol, Hare Krishna, everyone. Thank you so much. So I know we've extended a bit, but we've completed our chapter 1 successfully today. So Hari Bol to all of you.
Hari Bol, Mataji. Thank you.
Yeah, Hari Bol to all of you. So, and Hari Bol, thank you. So, we have to thank Srila Prabhupada. With his mercy only all this has happened. So we will start chapter 2 in our next class. So chapter 2 tomorrow anyways we'll not have class. Saturdays we have our weekly satsang. So at the same time, so it will be clashing. So Sunday we will
time changing weekly satsang 8 to 9 o'clock. No.
8 to 9, but I'm not sure, Prabhuji, will it get concluded or I don't know if it will get extended.
No,
So let's-
shortly concluded. Last week, only seven people are came.
Okay. But
but-
we will see, Prabhuji, because tomorrow 7 to 8 we have Bhakti Sadachar class also. Then 8 to 9
Bhakti
weekly.
Sadachar only classing, but it is surpassing 8, more than 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm saying. So 7 to 8 we have that class, 8 to 9 this one. So again continuing 9 to 10 will be a little difficult. We will see, Prabhuji. So we'll resume anyways on Sunday. And Sunday we'll start at chapter 2. Okay, so but please revise and come, all of you. Whatever we've read today, it's been very, very interesting topics and concepts which we should all know. So, requesting all to please revise and come. Do a quick recap. I'll also be sharing the recording so you can listen to the recordings also and come for the class on Sunday. So, Sunday we'll start our Bhagavad Gita Shloka 10 also revise and come. So, we'll start Bhagavad Gita Shloka 11. Also, we will start chapter 2.
Hare
Thank you,
Krishna,
everyone.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Mataji, you also
Hare
can participate,
Krishna.
Mataji, while reading also, Mataji. Hare
Yeah,
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhuji, I've
Yes.
been doing before, but now because we have quite a few devotees, I anyways read whenever there's no one, I read. I mean, when there's shortage of people, but otherwise, I give chance to devotees, Prabhuji. So that's how it goes. No problem, Prabhuji. We'll see. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you.
everyone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa
कृष्ण पतितानां पावनेभ्यो
Vaishnavyo namo
वैष्णवेभ्यो
namaha.
नमो नमः अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय शिला प्रभुपाद की जाय नामाचार्य हरिदास ठाकुर की जाय गुरु एंड गौरांग की जाय शिला प्रभुपाद की जाय श्री श्री राधा गोविंद की जाय हरे कृष्ण
Hare,
Hare
thank you so
Krishna.
much. Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone.
Hare
Thank you.
Krishna, Mataji.